Now, I want to introduce you to my good friend, Joe Hudson, all pixelated Joe Hudson. All right. Now, this guy, he works at TCM Academy now, but for like a million years, he was a cybersecurity recruiter, and he was one of the best in the business. Okay. I would consider him an advocate to all cybersecurity professionals. And now he's fully drank the Kool-Aid and come over to the dark side. So welcome to the party, Joe.
Kool-Aid's good over here, man. I love it. I appreciate the invite. This has been such a cool day. And my official apologies to my boss because I made no money for us today as a sales guy. I just watched a ton of conferences and sent out some emails and just had a phenomenal experience watching people.
Yeah, well, you're looking at people in chat. You're developing relationships. It's the long play, Joe. Yeah,
it'll happen, man. It's the long play. Actually, that's a lot about what today is about for me. So it's kind of cool you said that.
All right. Well, let me welcome you to the party, pal.
Welcome to the party, pal.
A new sound effect we've recently added to Simply Cyber. Bruce Willis, welcoming to the party. I'm going to go ahead and bring your slides up, Joe, but it looks like, that's just been. You are not presenting slides right now, actually. So if you want to, go ahead. Joe's going to be talking to us about being behind the scenes in cybersecurity recruiting, our final talk. While Joe's bringing up his slides, I want to remind everybody two things. One, before Joe was a cyber recruiter, he was a backup dancer for Usher. So if you have any questions about Joe's experiences on the soft silk tour in '98 with Usher, go ahead and talk to him about that. Love it. I love it, dude. Like, I understand living on the road's hard work, and I get it. Cyber's a little bit more predictable.
And Jackson Neal are going to pay for this so badly. I'm going to use this platform to officially state that I was never a backup dancer for anyone. Although in 1998, that would have been pre 3 knee surgeries. So I may have had the confidence to bust a move.
Yeah.
You guys are going down. All 3 of y'all are going down.
I love it. You were a dance choreographer on the Kid and Play movie House Party. Like, just everything about it was awesome. So, hey, before Joe gets into it, I do want to remind everybody that after this talk, we're going to be going over and kind of doing closing remarks, and I will be raffling off 2 amazing prizes. You're not going to want to miss it. I don't even want to put it on social medias because I don't want vultures coming in and just scooping up the giveaways. It's for you only, community, so stay tuned for that. But Joe, are you going to go ahead and share your slides, bub?
Absolutely. So just so you're aware, let's see here. I pivoted because I've been, and hopefully you guys can see everything I'm looking at there. Does that work for you?
Looks great, man.
I have really put a lot of thought into my career as a recruiter, and I know I had it as kind of the behind the scenes, but really I didn't want to talk about that today. I've been not really thinking about the stuff that people don't know. It's more so the stuff that I've been able to glean from people that I've worked with and gotten to know over the years. And it has been a very emotionally driven ride. And from that, I've had many late nights, honestly, just getting in my feels about individual people. And I've had many late nights staying up, literally thinking about individuals, worrying about individuals. And even last night I posted about a friend of mine who she's hit a type of rock bottom that I have not experienced in my life. At least I don't believe I've come quite that close. And it was so surprising to me to see it, that it was a good reminder of the life is tough, and we deal with different things different way. And we are going to face a lot of battles. So I wanted to pivot and talk more about the job hunter mentality and some of the roadblocks that I've seen so many people get in front of, and some have overcome them. Some have absolutely abandoned their path. And maybe some of you out there today could benefit from just hearing a couple of the words. So this is my course today. Obviously it's in the style of a classroom. That's kind of my mentality as always. So we'll kick in. I'll give you a little introduction into me. Here's an updated picture of me and my wife and my son. My son is the 5th. I said I would never have a 5th. Then when I found out it was a boy, I said he can deal with the pressure of giving up the dynasty there. But that's my son. He's better than everybody else's kid. That's what I say. That's my wife. Cool fact. This woman and I eloped for $65 in Vegas, completely unplanned. We just celebrated 10 years of marriage. A lot of work, a lot of communication, a lot of learning each other over the years, but single greatest thing that ever happened to me, and definitely the reason I'm here. I was a former elementary school teacher for 9 years. I taught 6 years, third grade on a military base. And then I taught 3 years in the Fairfax County Public Schools, so one of the biggest in the country. And that's when I had my son, realized I had to get out. So I share these details because many of you out there are probably coming from non-cyber backgrounds, or you're in the transition, or you also made the transition into this wonderful field. And you're learning your way, but this is a good example of how you can come from any kind of background. I did move into recruiting. I spent 8 total years in recruiting. The first 2 was just I don't even remember a lot of it. It was a very challenging time in my life, transitioning in my career and trying to learn the world of working in a business. That just really rocked me. And I had a hard time with it. I tell people I used to sit in the garage and listen to Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff every morning in the parking garage, just trying to psych myself up to go to work. And out of necessity, I ended up taking a job with a startup firm called Hudson, and I worked there for 6 years. Shout out to Jack Hall for being just a true advocate for me in my career, and really, without Jack really advising me and supporting me in just branching out the way I did over those 6 years, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. So phenomenal experience, but also a lot of the conversations that I had is what led me to this presentation today. Joined TCM earlier this year, took a leap of faith into a new career with Heath and with TCM, and I'm very proud to be here. These people are they're so much better behind the scenes than I was expecting, and I had very high expectations already, but this is as pure a team with high integrity, wanting to see people's success, egos checked at the door. I'm just very blessed to be here. And then LinkedIn, that's really the best place to find me. I've been overloaded for 8 years on all the apps and all the chats, and I don't know how a lot of you guys keep up with it all, but I decided to shrink my bubble down to LinkedIn. I am on Discord some, never get on Twitter, pretty much deleted all my other social accounts recently. So jumping in, guys, the stuff I want to talk about today, very short and sweet. I know we've got about 20 something minutes. Staying gritty. I think that this is something that it's said a lot, and there was a phenomenal presentation earlier today. Tyler, he was talking about the American adopted mantra of just work harder. I think work harder is it's terrible advice for a lot of the people at the wrong times in their lives, and I think there's a difference between working harder and staying gritty. So I kind of want to elaborate on that. The craft of job seeking, the data really that needs to be brought in, and then also making sure you're not just a kite in the wind floating by looking for a job, that you actually have some steps that you're putting in. So we'll cover all of these things in smaller doses. And then if you have any questions or would like some elaboration afterwards, I'm more than happy to communicate on LinkedIn. All right. So jumping into stay gritty. This one, I've been wanting to talk about this a lot, actually, because I had some conversations with some college students at a recent conference. And one of the guys, and I've said this, in various ways to different people over the years, but one of the guys that I was talking to, he said, I've been looking since I graduated in May. I haven't found anything. I'm starting to consider going other routes in security. And usually right there, I would say, good. You need to do that. It's sort of like a pompous way of basically being like, look, if you're willing to give up and throw in the towel this early in your search for a career that you say you're passionate about, after 5-6 months, you're willing to give up, I don't think you belong in this field. Obviously, I've never been a technical practitioner, but I've worked with and talked to so many of them, and the emotions and the true humanity that comes with these jobs, it's very taxing. It's extremely fulfilling. It's incredibly dynamic. You get to be at the front lines of the cool stuff that's coming out all the time, and it never stops. And there comes pressure with that, but at the same time, it's true excitement. And I think if you're willing to throw in the towel early, you're not really realizing the big picture of what your career looks like. And so I broke it down into 6-month blocks. If you work for 40 years, you have 86-month blocks in your career. And we all get 6-month lulls and lower times, things that aren't going our way, things that are just starting to feel like it's a string of bad events. And we can start to adopt that as that's my life now. That's the way this is going to go. I've had multiple of them. I told you about my 2 years jumping in recruiting. I'm a very upbeat person, and I definitely got to a low point that I don't remember days of my life. I was just lost in thought, lost in kind of sad, dark emotions of my own doing. And this can happen very frequently. So I think it's good to remember that when you're in these chunks of time that are not going so well, especially if it's several months, just think about the longevity of your career and the entirety of your career. And you never want to be at the end of it, looking back and saying, I can't believe I threw in the towel on what I actually intended on and wanted to be doing so early because it was tough then. If you can really adopt a mentality of this is part of it, this is just part of the game. This is part of what we're doing when we're trying to go for careers and trying to build our presence, trying to build our job stature up and our skills, et cetera. Like, you're going to have serious chunks of downtime, things that are not always popping and working in your favor. And if you're ready for them and you know that that's part of the process and part of the growth, you can start to appreciate them a lot more. My bank account hit a very low number not too long ago, and I saw it. And it'd been a while since I'd seen a number that low. It was probably back early recruiting days or even teaching days. And I was like, hello, old friend. I've seen you in a while. And I was ready for it. I didn't get stressed out. And I knew no matter what, I've figured out this before. I'm going to figure this out again. Not a problem whatsoever. We all have different things in life that come up. So if you're continually working on your job search as a craft, a skill set that you're going to apply moving forward for the rest of your life, it gets easier every time you do it. You come in more prepared, you come in more resourced and really well rehearsed on how you want to do these things. And it then starts to make it feel like, all right, this is a chunk of time that I'm in that I know is not so great, but I'm going to get out of it. Obviously, a lot of things for us to learn. And then I put a post up the other day about comparing basketball to the careers, and I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit in context with this. I took a 48-minute basketball game, and I said, okay, compute. I did the awesome calculation that is ChatGPT. I said, compute a basketball game over the course of 40 years. How much time does that translate into? And 1 second of a basketball game equates to about, I think, 440,000 seconds in a 40-year career, which is actually 5.1 days. So 1 second of a basketball game equates to a week in your work life. So when you have a bad week, it doesn't define your job. It doesn't define how well you did in the whole game. You missed a layup in that moment over the course of your career. You missed a free throw. And these are things that you can easily recover from. You have to. You don't really have a choice. You either pack it in and you don't come on Monday, or you come back really ready, refreshed, and ready to make another shot, ready to take another shot. So I think in the times where we're having these weeks or these days that are just sucking, just remember that this is a very small blip in the grand scheme of your life and your career. This is a layup that you've missed. You can easily recover. So I thought it was just kind of an interesting way to look at it from my perspective. I nerd out on things like that, and it's helped me since I've realized that. And of course, I had to put Morgan Freeman here. Second greatest movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption. 40 years. Love that movie. All right, next up. It's a craft. So I'm not going to go super deep into these. You guys have seen, I'm sure, tons of posts about it, how to network, how to work with recruiters, why recruiters are terrible, hiring managers suck, the job descriptions don't match. We could all complain all day and we'd all be very validated, I think, in doing that. I think that it's very true. And my original presentation was supposed to be highlighting a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And I didn't like the negative approach that it came across with. That's why I decided to change it up as well. But these are all things that are obviously very important. The networking, you have to know your comfort zone. You have to know what you're comfortable with. But if you don't push yourself to get out of that comfort zone, you might not discover that you're actually comfortable with things you always thought you were not comfortable with. And I think it's very important to talk to other people that have done it and done things well. And if they give you advice and then you decide to ignore it, that is your prerogative, but know that you're ignoring advice that has worked for other people. And it could be the one thing that changes your entire life just by placing yourself in a position for cool things to happen. Recruiters, I've referred some recruiters here over the last 6 months since I got in my position. And unfortunately, I feel like A lot of them have not stepped up to the plate. I know that there's a lot of great, phenomenal recruiters out there, just absolute hardworking people that care a lot about the people they're working with. They're not just chasing a commission, and they're also fighting the narrative that they are. So they're having to, honestly, I had to do this many times. I had to get people back to neutral feelings again about me before they even knew me. They already had negative thoughts. And so when you're working with recruiters, get to know them on a personal basis as best you can. This is someone that you're saying you're going to entrust your career. You're going to put your career in their hands. And if you're not asking them personal questions or trying to get to know them, what motivates them, why did they go to their company? How's their company even treating them? If you can get to know some of these things, you're going to get a good feel for the person you're working with. And most of the people I've worked with over my career, they weren't candidates for very long. They became friends or great people in my network, people that were willing to help me. They referred folks. There's a lot of relationship building you can do with recruiters that I think is just, it can take you so far. And they may not be the person that gets you the job. You don't have to be worried about, will this person get me a job? That may not be their place in your bubble, in your network. They may serve a different purpose. They might be someone that you could literally just send questions about when should I send an email back to this hiring manager? Would you mind proofreading my email to the hiring manager? I've done that 10,000 times with people, and I had not submitted them for jobs. I'm just that person for them. HR, oftentimes not on the same page with hiring managers, oftentimes on their own page. But I do think that they want to get jobs filled and they don't want to be a roadblock. Not all the times, but getting to know the HR process, especially if you are a leader. If you're a leader in a company going for a leadership position, pay very close attention to the process, to the communication, to the updates. How long does it take? If you have to really like haggle for your salary, what does that look like? If your goal is to build up a team, when you get into that company, build a program, and your success is tied to the people that you need to bring on, and you can't get people hired because the process is bogged down terribly or the money's not right. Like, these are things that you need to pay attention to while you're going through that process yourself, because that very well could tell you whether or not you're going to be in a position to be successful or if you're constantly going to be running your head into the wall. Hiring managers, working with them, obviously there's a lot of blocks in between them. A lot of people don't know the rules. Can I reach out to the hiring manager, et cetera? Some hiring managers, they're totally cool with it and they would love it. And some of them are just, no, they've got a wall up. Like, how dare you contact me? You can't necessarily know that unless you talk to your recruiter. The recruiter should be a person that can work in between, but you need to get to know the hiring managers as best you can, because this is going to be maybe the most important person in your job. You can have a great team, great money, great location, work-life balance, all that stuff. But if your hiring manager and your boss is not a good fit, I don't know if you have a great job, and I don't know how long that will last. If you are a hiring manager on this call and you use outside recruiters, please ask your candidate.
All right, hold on one second. We got a little bit of, there we go. We had a small.
Oh, you're good. Jerry, you good?
Yeah, just roll. I don't know what happened, but you can keep on rolling. You had a great vibe going.
All good, man.
So just keep rolling, bro.
All good, man. I'm just talking about the hiring managers. I just want people to be asking, if you're willing to pay $30,000, $40,000 to a firm to go hire you someone, make sure they're doing a good job. Make sure that they are protecting the peace of those candidates. That's a very personal experience. It's a very mentally draining experience for people to be waking up every day and wondering what's going on. And if you don't know what their experience is like working with that recruiting firm and then de facto your company, you're doing your own organization a disservice. And honestly, you could be identifying opportunities to find better recruiting partners that get to know you, they get the job done, they get the roles filled quickly. Resumes, you get advice from a million places out there. There's no one answer. I recommend, though, for sure, get creative, be human as much as you can on resumes. Don't try to create this perfect looking robot, and don't try to mirror your resume off somebody else's resume if you don't like how it presents you. Be honest, prepare to address anything that's on it, but know that your resume is a work in progress forever. You don't need to worry about making it perfect every time. And if you're building a great network of people, if you're building great rapport with recruiters and you're getting to know hiring managers over time, your resume becomes less and less important every day. Those are the people that are going to be your resume. They're going to be your advocates. They're going to tell your story. They're going to already set the stage for trust before you have to use your resume. So, but if you have questions about resumes, you can check out the Simply Cyber group as many times as you want. You can check out mine. You can check out 1,000 people. There's all sorts of tips, but have people look over it as well. Get a second set of eyes on it. Interviews and preps. I'm not going to go into big depth on this one. A lot of information there, but I will tell you that a lot of people don't prepare enough and a lot of people over prepare. The most important thing to me is that you are going in feeling in the best of spirits as you possibly can. Doing something before the interview, 30 minutes before, if you can block out 30 minutes before your interview, give yourself some peace and quiet. Give yourself something to do that always puts you in a good mood. I tell people all the time, like I look up videos of my son when he was like 2 years old. I have a great video of him singing and dancing with me together that I could be in the saddest state of my life. And if I watch that video, I'm in a good mood. And if I am in the best form before I go into an interview, I'm going to come across with good energy, good engagement. I'm going to seem interested. I'm going to seem invested in this. And I think that people can really feel it. A lot of times when people get out of interviews and they're very nervous, that everybody feels it immediately. And you got to remember the people on the other side of the table or the other side of the screen, like they want you to do well. They don't want to keep doing interviews, but also a lot of them are ill-equipped to conduct an interview. They weren't prepped before they got in. They aren't good at it themselves at conducting the interview. So you could have a poor interview, but it really isn't your fault. And that's something to make note of. It's something to realize it, because all of these items that are on this list, guys, they are parts of a craft. These are skills. These are areas that you will work on over time and improve over time. And you may not get great at all of these. You may literally never feel like you're great at networking. But if you have 2 or 3 really rock solid recruiters that can always have your back, people you can ask for jobs, resume reviews, LinkedIn updates, etc., like that could be enough. So don't worry about conquering all this at one time and also making all of this perfect, but learn as much as you possibly can about each one of these things. Put yourself in a position to actually be found by more people and get to know them and write them off if they don't have your back. Don't take that personally. They might actually be after a commission, and that's it. And you could just be a walking dollar sign to them. It doesn't mean they can't get you a great job. Just don't take it personally if that's the extent of your relationship. And if people want to go above and beyond to help you out and they don't have a job for you, don't burn that bridge, because you never know when that person is going to be the right one that actually does bring you a job. But my goodness, I've seen so many people over the years that I worked with that I definitely went above and beyond for without them asking. And then they really burn bridges. And then they followed up, "Hey, Joe, can I get some help with this?" And I would politely respond and just say, "Hey, I appreciate you reaching out, but I just don't have time to help in this manner. Last time we worked together, it just didn't, it kind of blew up in my face, and I just don't have the bandwidth or even the patience for that anymore. I'm too old for that." So moving on to the next. Data. This is pretty generic, but my goodness, there's so much you can learn if you just spend a little time. OSINT is quickly become my favorite thing about working at TCM. Just being able to sit in a lot of these scenarios and look up organizations and backstories of companies, et cetera, in many ways that I used to as a recruiter. But as a job seeker, when you are constantly easy applying, every time you easy apply and you don't get a response, there is a little failure in there. And if you do it 100 times, that's 100 failures. I think it's very important to do your research on why you're even looking at these organizations. Most of us don't wake up and just go, "I'll take any job and I'll work for any company." There's certain organizations I know I would be terrible at. Larger firms, I probably just wouldn't fit nearly as well. So having a list of targeted companies based on data you've collected, okay, people with my similar backgrounds work there. People that have transitioned out of the military seem to be thriving here. And I'm targeting this company because those people seem to have at least 2+ years in their first job at the company or whatever it is. But you are looking for career growth. You're looking for similar backgrounds. You're looking for remote work, whatever. Instead of just applying, the amount of time that you spend reading through these job descriptions that you're probably not going to get a job for And even though it's easy apply, you add that up to 40, 50 times over the course of a week. You could have spent that amount of time targeting organizations for specific reasons, connecting with specific people at those companies and giving a little bit of your story. Same goes for recruiters. If you get a call from a recruiter, do not be afraid to challenge them a little bit. Hey, appreciate you reaching out. I'm curious to know about you. What do you love about the company you work with? What took you there in the first place? How many jobs have you filled on this team before? How long has your company been working with this organization? Don't be afraid to ask them questions. If they can't answer those questions, remember, this is your career that's in their hands. And if they are ill-equipped to answer simple questions like that, they are ill-equipped to handle your career. The shared backgrounds. I was talking to a mom at a conference a couple weeks ago, and she's trying to figure out how do I put this on my resume. And I did a chat with Jax last week, and we talked about it too. Like, address it. Be very plain about, hey, I was a stay-at-home mom for the last 3 years. Lead out with that if you need to, because you never know. There's going to be a lot of people at certain organizations that they have that background, or even people in HR or the recruiters. That is what they also experienced. Those are things that can connect. And if you have those connections, don't be afraid to try to capitalize on them. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I saw that you're also a troop leader. I saw that you also are involved in, giving piano lessons, whatever it is. Like, those are things that actually people are probably not getting contacted about as much. And the worst thing that happens, guys, is like they just don't respond. But at least you've put in some information that is measurable to see, okay, I sent out 10 messages to people who are also troop leaders. How many of them got back to me? That doesn't seem to be working, or that seems to be working really well. So you're measuring things. You're measuring how many of these recruiters that I talked to, for example, have been working with their clients for longer than 3 years, whatever it is. The measuring your ROI is just, it's irreplaceable. To be able to know, okay, I'm spending too much time easy applying. I'm spending too much time just going through LinkedIn and connecting with people that I never follow up with. But I think it's very important to know your audience and to speak to them and to understand what is it that I'm trying to say. Because if you just sit down and you start saying, hey, I love your presentation or whatever, and just wanted to know, could I get your time to review my resume or whatnot? Like, you're not really taking a real open-minded approach about how would you feel if you were in that person's shoes. What can I do to stay connected with this person, or get connected with this person in a way that they feel appreciated and not like you're just a hyena out there in a pack trying to get something from them. But the stay open-minded part, I am here because I was open-minded. I got into recruiting because I was open-minded. I got into cybersecurity because I was open-minded. And I got over to TCM because I was open-minded. None of these three things were really on my radar for things I was considering or looking at or interested in at first. TCM I've always been interested in. I've always been a huge fan of the organization. But this role was not something I was really looking for or considered. And I stayed open-minded, and this has been a tremendous career move that I feel like has been very fulfilling. So lastly, find a reason to connect. Like I just said, don't just send a mass blast. You all see these things. You don't go get 1,000 connections. I mean, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know how many connections I have, and I don't know how many followers I have, but that doesn't really do much value for me if I'm not engaging with them. And I engage probably with less than 5% of the people that I am connected with. So have a good reason to connect. You're much better off with a strong network and bubble of people that's smaller, that you can go to, and they have shared interests and whatnot, than just having a mass blast. Oh, great, I made 1,000 connections today. If you start to use those connections and commenting and engaging with them online, and you're doing it frequently, especially if you're not working and you have a lot of time for that, that is valuable experience to do. But I still would make it a targeted audience. And when you do reach out to them, if you ask for something right off the bat, I think we're all building up our walls and shields lately to trying to fight off the sales pitches and whatnot. So even as a salesperson, like, I will get back to some people just out of respect because I know the hustle. But if someone asks me for something right off the bat and they haven't even said hello, I'm much less likely to be interested to spend my own time doing that. With the trusted circle, I said there next to it, don't take things personally. If your circle is trusted and then they cross you, you could take that personally. Doesn't mean eliminate them from your circle, though, because a reminder. We are all going through a lot. We all make some interesting decisions. We all say things that we might not mean. And also in text, things get lost in translation a lot. So be forgiving, be open-minded with that. But also if somebody burns you twice, I mean, they need to be out of your circle. And then, like I said, measure your efforts. Don't just be a kite in the wind. Actually write down what you're doing each week, how much time you're spending on it each week, what results did it yield. And then the next time it comes up, or even the next week, you're going to have some starting points now, as opposed to just feeling lost or feeling panicky. You're going to know, okay, I need to reach out to these 2 recruiters. I'm going to ping these 3 managers and just ask them if they know anybody. Then I'm going to get my resume redone. I'm going to have these 2 or 3 people review it. I'm going to get my LinkedIn page updated. I'm going to have this person review it just to make sure it looks good. And then I'm going to target these 5 types of companies over the next 3 days. I'm going to make 3 connections at each one. Something like that. Way better time spent. So with that, guys, I appreciate y'all listening to me talk this long. It's not my nature to want to talk this long, but unless somebody else is talking with me. But I greatly appreciate you all being here, and just reach out to me anytime.
Yeah, some really powerful stuff. Yeah, okay. Put those on. All right. We've got the mini me's in the background, Joe. So hey, dude, really genuinely appreciate you. I consider Joe Hudson, for those who don't know, a dear personal friend. In
Absolutely,
addition,
man.
yeah, in addition to doing all the work that we do together. Really powerful stuff, hard lessons. Thanks for peeling back the curtain a little bit and sharing some of your personal stories and struggles. I saw a lot of people in chat resonating with your story and some of the challenges you had. And also, I love the perspective you put in that you shouldn't really lose your mind if you have a bad week, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, right?
Layup, man.
Yeah, it's just a layup. I love it. I'm going to drop a link to Joe's LinkedIn profile here in chat, but I'll drop that in chat so everyone can go join Joe. I know he just mentioned that he has 1 million connections and only talks to 5%, but the point is, if you are enjoying what Joe's saying, connect with him, let him know that you enjoyed
Please
it.
do.
It's absolutely fantastic. Joe, I hope you can stay with us. I'm going to move you off stage, but thank you all very much for being here today. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks for putting it on the record that TCM, did not have its best Joe Hudson performance day today, but genuinely appreciate it. Love it, Joe. Thank
Is
you.
anybody good speaking next? I don't know if there's any good. I'll hang around if it's somebody good.
Okay. Well, we do have the track 2 moderators coming in to rescue it. Plus, my little ones are going to come on in a fun way. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Hudson.